Thank you, everyone. Great job, National Crime Agency. You guys did great work. We're so proud of you. This is a little bit related. So today I'm going to talk about, that crazy uncle that everybody has and inevitably has to deal with one time or another. And that's the story I'm going to tell you all today. A little bit about myself. I've been a cyber threat intelligence at Cisco Talos for just under 9 years. I've learned quite a bit in that time. Lucky for me, I am a native Russian speaker, which makes my job a little bit easier and allows me to do adversarial engagement is what we call it, but it's pretty much talking to bad guys or talking to anybody directly to obtain intelligence that helps us protect our customers. I am not LockBit, as you guys know. I've been accused of that by many of you in jest. I'm not Bratva or Bastard Lord, thankfully. I'm a rule follower. I don't like to make people upset too much. On occasion, I am a meme maker that may have got under your skin. I apologize for that. But most of the time, I get a good response from my memes. I'm still searching for the 99-cent glizzy, Sherrod, that you talked about at BrunchCon a few years ago. That is part of my quest. I don't believe that it exists, but I don't want to undermine your intelligence collection, so I'm still looking for it, okay? I don't think the prices are gonna be real for those. At the end of the day, in essence, I sleuth around on the internet, and the meme there implies most of the time it's late at night when I'm using speech to text for Russian because I can't keep up with typing it. And occasionally my wife will come downstairs and ask, what are you doing and who are you talking to? And my response now is Jake from State Farm. Just a quick outlook on what's going on in the Russian ransomware scene from my point of view. There's a little bit of panic going on. There's a few punches that law enforcement and cyber threat intelligence has been able to blow in this ecosystem. It's not dead by any means, you guys obviously know that, but ever since the Mikhail Matveyev indictment about a year ago, that was one of the first blows to the ecosystem, then the subsequent Hive disruption, and the magnum opus of LockBit disruption and interdiction seriously sent these guys into a big panic mode. There's a huge splintering going on. There's affiliates moving around. There's affiliates disengaging, taking breaks. And what's interesting, the splintering has actually been affected by the subject of my talk today. And we'll talk about how he became kind of the godfather of these splintering groups. Uncle or Piper. So the name is a little confusing. I'm going to refer to them as Uncle because in Russian, Dziadka or Dydka kind of intermixed. Dydka is a pipe flute, where Dziadka is uncle. The spelling of that username and moniker was different at times, so this individual goes by both. The first time I ever heard of a Dziadka or uncle was when they claimed to have had stage 4 cancer on the Russian forum XSS and decided to leak. They claimed responsibility for being the Babuk the Babuk ransomware developer, and they ultimately leaked the Babuk source code right about the end of 2021. He's got pretty decent coding skills, to be honest with you, way better than any of my understanding. I'm not a coder, but he's been praised one way or the other in the community for his skills. Horrible people skills. Doesn't really make good friends, and if he does make good friends, it's for the wrong reasons, and usually has the ability to lose friendships or somehow undermine trust. He's been in pretty much every single ransomware group there is under the sun as an affiliate, and has also created 2 major ransomware families, Babuk and Monti. What is true is, the reason I used Uncle Buck here is that he's caused havoc in just about every group that he's been a part of and in the community, including with his friends. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So who is Dydka or Dziadka? They all, started out just like all of us. Video games lead to hacking, and that's bad. This individual is really into Minecraft, and when I'm talking about really into Minecraft, like this is even too much, even just for any human being. Spends constantly, still to this day, plays a lot of Minecraft, and started out years ago trying to cheat and do these things where they can activate games, all the natural stuff of a natural cyber criminal, right? So he started out in video games, started on forums asking about how to create cheaters and all that. Continued to develop their skills and dabbled into creating obfuscators and encrypted payloads and started making little money off that. Wow, money for a young person. Great stuff. So they switched over and still self-taught, continued to refine their skills, started making info stealers. Then they realized right around the same time that ransomware as a service was coming out and becoming big as far as attacking networks, and they dabbled into that. So they were able to be a part of a team that helped create the Babuk ransomware, and they were pretty much the predominant developer. A little bit more background. They are from Russia. They are young, typically, for what we've been used to, but not too far. They were born in the early 2000s. They missed out on a lot of the fun time in Russia that was the 1990s. So, I mean, pretty normal upbringing, right? Politically stable, economy's good. Like I said, he's a huge gamer. Who isn't? Python, C++, and Java are the languages that are very natural to him. He really likes it. So those are the main things that he codes in. Huge into the party lifestyle. And when you have a lot of money, right, when you make it from ransomware, why not? We're talking about going out for every meal, not being bored, lavish parties every so often, and a lot of drugs, a lot of recreational drugs, and his drug of choice, ecstasy. And I'll tell you who got him hooked on that, actually. I mentioned that this individual causes a lot of havoc, right? It's a lot of crazy stories. Too many to go into every single one of them, but I'll tell you that they did not die of cancer. They didn't have stage 4 cancer. They did that in order to obfuscate their tracks and think that this developer actually died. A lot of people in the community played along with him. Wazawaka was actually the one that started spreading that idea in the underground. In fact, he even tricked, and this is literally from his a quote from him. He was happy enough to trick Bastard into donating to him, and laughed about it for quite some time. Allegedly, Bastard donated thousands of dollars to him for healthcare. He accused me of being a part of Conti. Some of you may or may not have seen that, but Conti one time published some victim and then literally said I was the one that targeted them. That was a funny moment, especially calling, I believe, the Nashville field office and telling them, hey, that's not me. But they have a pretty vindictive nature to them. And as I said, the leaking of Babuk was intentional, and they did that in order to kind of hide their tracks after the DC Metro Police Department attack. I'll get a little bit more into that. And here's one thing that I heard him say directly, but I don't have any proof, but he does go around saying that he feels bad for turning off life support system in a hospital one time during an attack. So don't know if that's actually true. If the law enforcement guys know that actually happened, that could be him. Negotiations, extremely tough negotiator. Takes things very, very personally, and it's got that vindictive nature. If he feels slighted or somehow undermined, he immediately goes into this crazy response mode and starts maybe not responding or escalating or starts leaking data. But it's not a very easy person to negotiate. It does not have those people skills that gets him the outcome that he wants, right? A payout. What's really funny, and I think ProDraft did mention this, so I got to give him kudos, and this is verified, is that he uses psychic tarot readers in order to set prices or ask them what to do in situations where he doesn't have a clear outcome or doesn't feel in a position of power. That's actually influenced by his mom, who is really, really into it and got him hooked on psychic tarot readers. She actually travels around Russia to find the best psychic tarot readers I guess, to fulfill her superstitious needs. It's very interesting. So just a quick confirmed list of all the ransomware families that Dziadka or Dydka was a part of. There's the Conti post that he made targeting me back in 2022, early 2022? January 22, yeah. And so BlackMatter, everybody remember BlackMatter? Yeah, funny story, remember Khajiit? Don't worry, I'm not Khajiit. Khajiit's actually still around, but him, Khajiit, and Wazawaka decided to undermine BlackMatter when they got into it, and they were instrumental in its shutdown, but that's not really important. He got into a huge fight with Donut Ransomware very recently, over $100,000, and published them on his Monti blog. So again, very, very disruptive and abrasive. He did get into the LockBit project early on, but then again, got into an argument with LockBit over money, very huge ego, and decided that he deserved more. We all know how LockBit took that because two egos don't really work too well together, so he stopped working for him. And then Avos, Conti, Goga, all the other major ones that he got into. He also had on the side, or those were his earnings on the side, excuse me. He also was running Monti and Babuk at a certain time. Monti was created about 2023 of April, I believe. And so Sun and Hive, Suncrypt and Hive were also some of the, he executed some major attacks with them. So yeah, let's take a little closer look into Babuk and Monti. Babuk, or Babuk, was created predominantly by him. He wasn't the sole creator, but he mostly did the work. The Metro DC, I always get that wrong. The DC Metropolitan Police Department was targeted by them, and it caused huge disruptions. They're right across the river. They're the major law, the number one law enforcement agency for DC. And they actually got scared because of that. I'll get a little bit more into that later, in just a few slides. And eventually they're like, look, they're gonna go after us. Let's leak it and let everybody have it. That means everyone's gonna use it, and once they start using it, they're not gonna just go after us, right? We're just gonna muddy the waters. It kind of worked, but not really. You guys are the brightest people. You guys figured it out immediately, I think. Malware Hunter team, Trend Micro, a lot of folks immediately started tracking Babuk variants. After the Conti leaks, he was a part of that. In fact, he also tried to implicate me and another Russian researcher again in the leaks. When they knew they were being monitored, he tried to target me again, which is kind of funny. He decided to create a new one. He realized that Conti was going away. He created Monti based on Conti, and again, researchers were immediately able to pick that up, but he did another version later on. I'll get a little bit more about that. So TTPs and some of the signatures, boy, does he love himself some ESXi or hosts and Linux servers. His modifications to ransomware families typically include, applying a different encryption algorithm. That's one of the first things he does. And he also enhances obfuscation. He's pretty good about obfuscating detection. So that's the first thing he'll go after. He's really into 0 days and proof of concepts when it comes to VPN providers and platforms. He even has dedicated usernames for those particular attacks. Fortinet and SonicWall are some of his most major attacks and lucrative. He's got usernames associated with that. I will admit Cisco is a huge target for him just because Cisco is pretty prevalent. We're also known to have a lot of 0 days here and there. So I didn't want to exclude that. This is a screenshot from his personal folder that works on his, ransomware builders. Again, let's go back to some of the most major attacks that he was a part of. And this is something that he personally claimed. The DC Metro Police Department and the Costa Rica government that happened with Conti in the spring of 2022. Both operations were extremely impactful on the victim. The operations were shut down, millions of dollars in damage, people could not get their services done, bad things happened, essentially. As I said, the first event really scared Dziadka, and Wazawaka. They were part of the same team working that. And what they thought was that the camaraderie between police departments in the US and Russia would actually be bigger than the camaraderie between possible connections between intelligence services and law enforcement in Russia and cyber-related stuff. And they got scared that police would look out for each other and actually go after them. And that was the big reason to leak Babuk and let it all go, and eventually impact the ransomware world, because now we have a source code that could be modified by just about anybody. Conti was the last hurrah. They decided to use that after the leaks. Most of the team disappeared and went off into the void and rebranded to BlackMatter or whatever it was. And they decided to still use the panel and the builder. In fact, Dziadka wanted to use his new project, Monti at the time, but Wazawaka advised him against it because it was going to be blamed on Conti, and the implications were going to all be focused on Conti, something that's going to go away. And so Wazawaka kind of advised that for strategic purposes, let's not use Monti yet. These are other claimed attacks that he was a part of, though he personally claimed, and I've been able to verify that they did exist and were public. Very, very prolific attacker, and got some payouts in these, unfortunately. Let's take a closer look at this relationship. You guys all remember Wazawaka, the crazy guy? Yeah, of course we all do. He's all over the place. But they've been working together for quite a long time. I didn't list all of Wazawaka's monikers because it doesn't matter. We got an indictment. His days are numbered. Hopefully one day this individual will get an indictment. By the way, I do know his identity. I'm not going to share it publicly here or on video. I will share it with researchers and law enforcement agencies one-on-one, so please reach out to me if you want to know the intelligence behind this. But these are all the names that he was a part of, usernames that he had for different types of platforms that I've been able to track specifically to those, and they're listed there. Their relationship is actually kind of weird, okay? They are both known to be very emotional individuals, and one is a little bit more mature than the other, but honestly, they're about the same. And while they do work together and have had successful operations, they actually have a really hot-cold relationship, like the Katy Perry song, where they go into periods of moments where they hate each other, plot against each other, undermine and backstab each other, and maybe even leak information about each other to me. Wazawaka's, Dydka's connection, there's a lot. There's quite a bit, but one of the first ones that got to me was back in the day when I was looking into the Costa Rica attack. I noticed that the Talks ID that was used by Boris Yeltsin and Uncle 1756, who was Wazawaka on Exploit and XSS, was the same one that was being used by Sleuthcon and Griba, which is also, that's Dydka and Dziadka. So they were using the same Talks ID to communicate about projects or ransomware and the things that they do on forums, like buying access or trying to figure out a 0-day. What was the overall impact on their relationship? We're talking about tens of millions of dollars of damage, okay? They are also causing a lot of disruptions and distrust within the community, okay? That's really interesting to us because that's how we get a lot of information when they start backstabbing each other. It's just cool. I know that it's not the most lucrative way to get information, but nevertheless, it still allows us to be impactful. So they lied about BlackMatter, and that really, really pissed off a lot of people. And as I said, the biggest victim of that was Khodjbaev, and they disappeared as far as their moniker. but they're still around. They're not, it doesn't appear, according to Dziadka, Khajiit does not have FSB connections. They're just somebody that wanted to get into the game, wanted to make a lot of money, and then messed this whole thing up thanks to Wazawaka. That was the story. They also created Gramp. If you remember the old Babuk or Babuk infrastructure, they shut that down right after the police department attack, and they decided to create this ransomware malware platform forum, right? And Orange was Wazawaka, the admin behind it, but Dziadka was also very instrumental in helping develop the site, run the site, and then eventually Wazawaka apparently locked him out of it. Created Monti based on the Conti source code, and then modified it again. Another impact is he got a huge drug addiction. The story goes is that he was struggling with body image, and he shared and lamented that to his buddy at the time, Wazawaka, and Wazawaka said, do certain drugs, amphetamines and ecstasy, and you'll be able to lose weight and also have fun. And that's allegedly what he did. And there's a lot of manipulation and backstabbing, as I said. They go after each other the moment they don't get what they want. It's like children with money and power. They go really, really hard. It's very interesting, actually, to see that, and it's very easy to take advantage of that if you're strategic about it. One thing I will share with you, they plotted to hurt me, both of them, and this was an active threat that one time I called John Holt, was 2 days before, I don't remember which event it was, but I said, hey, buddy, I can't come. I'm sorry. And he was like, hey, no problem. And then I was like, you know what, I will come, because I'm tired of these threats. But I got a call from law enforcement saying, hey, there's an active threat against you. You may want to be careful. And so they allegedly plotted what they called a hit to physically harm me. And how rich is this crazy uncle? Everybody's got a crazy uncle who's a little rich, right? Hopefully you get some money. Well, as of 2 days ago, their wallet still got about $1 million in it. And 4 months ago, it was about 600,000, but Bitcoin and Ethereum went up. And so at the moment, he's got about $1 million. National Crime Agency, please go take it. That would be great. Just lock it down. Be very grateful for that. Most of the money is in Bitcoin, but a huge chunk is also in Ethereum. This was actually very thankful from Chain Analysis to give us a little hint. He looks like a pretty sophisticated person when it comes to crypto. He pays a lot of attention. He does a lot of NFT transactions and does a lot of cryptocurrency swaps. So you won't see quite a lot of blockchain transactions directly to another wallet, but a lot of different internal transactions, which is interesting. A few weeks ago, he moved $50,000 somewhere. Who knows? Maybe it was the LockBit stuff. All right, so what can we do? What can we do? Well, you guys already know what we do, but just to reiterate some of the stuff he's really into, okay? I noticed the moment there is a 0-day news, we see it on Twitter or X, immediately, right? Proof of concepts or boom, boom, boom. There's some sort of vulnerability out there. These guys go after that, and this particular individual, it's like a game to him. He really is. He'll actually stop playing Minecraft in order to explore that. And he'll read every single line of that proof of concept or summary, and he will go try it. He gets a really good kick out of that, but he's not really that great of a pen tester. And that relationship with Wazawaka is, Wazawaka did all the pen testing, that's what they would call it. They did all the intrusion, whereas Dziadka served as the technical expert and the blog maintenance person, okay? So that's very, very interesting. Once they had that initial access, whether it was through a vulnerability or through purchased credentials or through the VPN vulnerability, like I said, encryption happens immediately. They don't sit around and play. They don't explore. This person specifically goes after money. There is no indication that they have desire to take this information somewhere. They just want to immediately interact. It's like a sick, sadistic game. They want to see a person suffer with encryption. That's the way that I would describe their thought process. Once they have that encryption done, Like I said, that's sadism. They immediately want to contact and put a lot of pressure on the victim. That uses social engineering, corporate pressure, or corp calls, as they call them, but they will engage the victim in every single way possible in order for them to constantly put pressure on them. Again, it seems like it crosses a personal line where it's like a game for him. Loves VPNs. If you got a virtual environment, you're on his list. He loves virtual environments. Like I said, social engineering, they will leverage third-party third-party groups on the dark web that do social engineering calls. You will get a call in native English to have somebody that knows a lot about your corporation, did the homework, and will get the point across. That's the kind of stuff that they do. And municipalities. I've observed discussions between Dziadka and another unnamed individuals chatting about how municipalities, governments, schools, hospitals, anybody that has a public-facing service that is reliant on that daily service is huge on their list. They love to go after these targets because they know the pressure to restore these services is much bigger than the concern over budgets and money. They really just want to restore operations. Not only that, they know that these municipalities' budgets are not exactly in tune with backups and making sure that all the protections are there, so they know that backups don't exist. At the end of the day, even if you have backups, they know PII. They know the importance of PII, and anything that has PII, say of children or healthcare patients, they know that that's very valuable information. They've personally discussed this, and they will go after it. All right, just to close out with a few minutes left. These are some of the indicators that I've collected of them. I'll give you a moment to take a picture of that if you want. You guys are all amazing sleuthers. I think I encourage all of you to explore some of these indicators. I think you'll find some good stuff on there, one way or the other. When we all come together as one, like the Avengers, we can all do some good stuff. So please take this information and run with it, and hopefully I will see some of the research you guys have done on it. Just like that, as I said, as I close out, what I see in the next, short term is they will continue to splinter. But unfortunately, people like Dziadka and Dydka don't make it easier on us. When they leak the Babuk source code, when they leak the Monti source code, which, by the way, Monti source code was leaked, but it wasn't him. That was somebody else. It was kind of instrumental in this intelligence, but that was somebody else that did that to him. When these happen, new guys that don't have to do this from the ground up, right, develop these source code from the ground up, just take it, modify it, and now you have Medusa, now you have all these other families, right, and you continue to have these little tiny shops that do ransomware. Not only that, I could see a bunch of different families coming together and being used by one group in order to stay under the radar and avoid detection and not be attributed to one particular ransomware group. I think law enforcement, the good guys are going to continue to get better. The private partnership is going to build trust. We're already there. I love working with some of our law enforcement partners. And they're going to get good at it. The budgets are going to get bigger. The trust is going to grow. And I think we're going to see more interdiction. I hope. And what is really interesting, and I hope we're all cheering for this, is there's going to be a lot more infighting within these ransomware groups. That is what I see for these kind of people that have emotions and egos tied into the game, and we see that a lot with LockBit. And the trust is getting undermined, and sowing distrust is something that we can all be impactful for. And I'm not encouraging you to go out there and troll these people, which is fine, but I do encourage you to publish information that demonstrates that they are just as untrustworthy to each other as they are to their victims and everybody else. Because they're, at the end of the day, and this is a new moniker I can tell you, they're scattered roaches, not scattered spiders. All right, I have a few seconds left. What is he up to? It looks like yet another diversion. About a week and a half ago, it looks like he claimed that the project has been sold. And I'm not sure if that's true or not. I don't believe it. And here's a really cool thing. I'll leave you all with this. Here's something really, really cool I found that was in a folder that belonged to him. It is file images titled 123. And it looks like a picture of something buried in a park. And if you really get closer to it, it's really wrapped up quite a bit. And there's coordinates too. You want to take a picture of those coordinates and later figure out where that is? It's in Kaliningrad, Russia. The enclave in Europe, yep. And who else lives in Kaliningrad? Wazawaka, yes. So, did they bury something there? Who knows? We don't know, we can't get there, but hopefully somebody can. What's interesting is there was another folder titled 123, and what it looked like were security keys for a crypto wallet. So maybe that's his personal crypto wallet. National Crime Agency, please go find it. All right, guys, that's all I have. I hope it was informative. Thank you so much. Thank you to John. Thank you to Shared. Wonderful, wonderful event.